Imagine your life ending, not as a final chapter, but as a pause. Picture it not as a sudden stop, but as a gentle drifting into a sleep so deep, it stretches beyond the boundaries of time itself. What if death was just a deep sleep, carrying you across centuries? Imagine closing your eyes in one era and opening them in another as if no time had passed at all. The world you knew might be gone, but you remain, suspended in a dreamless slumber, waiting for a new dawn. Instead of burial, your body is preserved, not for today, but for a future we can barely imagine. You are entrusted to technology, your body carefully protected, awaiting a time when science may have the answers we lack today. This is the promise of cryonics, the radical idea that death is not a single moment, but a process that might be paused and perhaps reversed. It's a bet on the relentless progress of science, and the hope that tomorrow's breakthroughs will unlock doors we can't yet open. Moments after death, your body is prepared for preservation, a race against time to protect your brain and identity. Every second counts, as teams work swiftly to halt the decay, preserving not just flesh, but the very essence of who you are, your memories, your personality, your story. You become a passenger on a frozen voyage, betting on the ingenuity of future generations. Your journey is uncertain, but it is filled with the hope that one day, you might awaken to a world transformed, where death is no longer the end. Cryonics is driven by our refusal to accept mortality, our curiosity, and our hope for a second chance. It's a testament to the human spirit, our endless quest to push boundaries, to challenge fate, and to dream of futures that once seemed impossible. But is this a scientific marvel or just a modern twist on an ancient dream? For millennia, humans have sought ways to defeat death, to preserve the self beyond the grave. Cryonics is the latest chapter in this timeless story. The answer lies in the quiet, frozen stillness of a handful of facilities around the world, places where hope, science, and the mysteries of life and death converge, waiting for the future to arrive. Cryonics is the preservation of a legally deceased person at extremely low temperatures, a process that aims to halt all biological activity and prevent further decay. The hope is that, by suspending the body in this state, future advances in science and medicine might one day make it possible to revive the individual, heal the cause of death, and restore them to life. This concept, while sounding like science fiction, is rooted in a deep optimism about the potential of technology and human ingenuity. The process relies on the belief that future technology will be able to repair the damage caused by both the original illness and the preservation process itself. Cryonics is not about freezing people alive, but rather about giving them a second chance, an opportunity to benefit from medical breakthroughs that are currently beyond our reach. Importantly, cryonics procedures only begin after a doctor has officially declared death. This is not an attempt to cheat death in the traditional sense, but to pause the process of biological decay at the earliest possible moment, preserving the body, especially the brain, before irreversible damage sets in. The central idea behind cryonics is that true death occurs only when the brain is damaged beyond any hope of repair. As long as the structure of the brain remains intact, the information that makes up a person's identity and memories could, in theory, be preserved and restored. This vision was first popularized by Robert Ettinger in 1962, when he published The Prospect of Immortality. Ettinger argued that if we could preserve bodies at low temperatures, future medicine might not only cure diseases that are fatal today, but also reverse the aging process itself. His ideas sparked a movement that has continued to grow, inspiring both scientific inquiry and public fascination. The first person to undergo cryopreservation was Dr. James Bedford in 1967. Though the methods used at the time were primitive by today's standards, Bedford's preservation marked a historic milestone, the beginning of a real-world experiment in human hibernation. Since those early days, cryonics techniques have steadily improved. Today, several organizations around the world offer cryopreservation services, most operating as non-profits dedicated to advancing the science and maintaining the trust of their members. These organizations see themselves as guardians of hope, carefully maintaining the preserved bodies and brains of their clients and holding on to the possibility that one day, science will unlock the secrets needed to bring them back. Despite decades of progress, cryonics remains a controversial and fringe science. Mainstream medicine is largely skeptical, pointing to the lack of evidence that revival will ever be possible, and raising ethical, legal, and technical questions about the practice. Yet, the field persists, driven by the belief that even a small chance at a second life is better than none at all. For many, the idea of cryonics is not about certainty, but about hope, and the willingness to take a leap into the unknown. For its advocates, cryonics is less about escaping death and more about expanding the boundaries of what is possible for humanity. It represents a profound faith in the future and in the power of human innovation to solve even the most daunting challenges. As research continues and technology advances, the field of cryonics evolves, driven by curiosity, hope, and the relentless pursuit of a future where death may not be the end, but a new beginning. The cryonics process begins immediately after legal death, fighting the clock to prevent cellular damage. A standby team may restore circulation and breathing, not to revive, but to keep tissues viable. The body is cooled gradually in an ice bath, with medications to protect cells. Rapid cooling would cause damage, slow cooling prepares for the next step. Blood and water are replaced with cryoprotectant, a medical antifreeze, to prevent ice crystals from forming. This is crucial. Ice would destroy cells, making revival impossible. After saturation, the body is cooled over days to minus 196 degrees Celsius, the temperature of liquid nitrogen. At this temperature, all biological activity stops. The body is stored in a vacuum-insulated douar, submerged in liquid nitrogen. Here, in suspended animation, the patient waits for a future that may never come. The biggest challenge in cryopreservation is water. When it freezes, it forms sharp ice crystals that can puncture and destroy delicate cells. This is especially devastating for complex tissues like the brain, where even tiny amounts of damage can have profound consequences. The process of freezing isn't as simple as just lowering the temperature. It's a battle against the very nature of water itself. Early attempts at cryopreservation failed time and again because of this problem. But then, scientists discovered a breakthrough: vitrification. Instead of allowing water to freeze into destructive crystals, vitrification transforms it into a glass-like solid. This state is achieved by cooling so rapidly, and with the help of special chemicals, that ice doesn't have a chance to form. Cryoprotectants are the key players here. These special solutions replace much of the water inside cells and tissues, preventing ice from forming even at extremely low temperatures. They act like molecular antifreeze, allowing biological material to survive the deep freeze. But the balance is incredibly delicate. Too little cryoprotectant, and ice crystals will still form, causing damage. Too much, and the chemicals themselves become toxic to cells. Scientists must carefully calculate and control every step, making the process as much an art as a science. Over decades, researchers have refined these cryoprotectant mixtures, testing and improving them to maximize protection. This is especially crucial for the brain, where the intricate web of neurons holds our memories, thoughts, and sense of self. Vitrification preserves the brain's structure at the microscopic level, aiming to keep the physical basis of memories and personality intact. The hope is that one day, this preservation will allow for revival with identity and consciousness restored. Still, the process isn't perfect. Microscopic damage can occur, and rewarming the tissue is one of the greatest technical hurdles. Even the smallest cracks or chemical imbalances can threaten the integrity of preserved tissue. If warming isn't perfectly even, ice can form during thawing, a process called devitrification. This can undo all the careful preservation achieved during cooling, making revival even more challenging. Vitrification is a leap forward in the science of cryonics, offering hope where there was once only destruction. But the dream of revival, of waking up in the future, remains a distant and uncertain goal. The science is advancing, with new discoveries and technologies emerging every year. Yet the journey to waking up from cryopreservation is far from over, and many questions remain. Cryonics is a race against both time and biology, a race to preserve not just life but the very essence of who we are. Preserving a body is only half the battle. Revival is the real challenge. The original cause of death must be cured, and damage from preservation repaired, tasks far beyond today's medicine. Nanotechnology, microscopic machines repairing cells, remains science fiction for now. Even if revival is possible, will the person who wakes up still be you? If brain connections are altered, identity and memory could be lost. There's also the psychological shock, waking in a future where everything and everyone you knew is gone. adapting to an alien world could be as hard as the medical hurdles. Revival is not just a technical problem but a deeply human one. The uncertainty of identity and belonging is a major barrier to acceptance. Cryonics asks, can we truly bring someone back, or just create an echo of who they were? The cryonics community is small but passionate, often science-minded optimists betting on the future. Most aren't wealthy, many use life insurance to fund preservation. For them, it's a logical investment. A slim chance at more life is better than none. Hundreds are preserved worldwide, with thousands more signed up, mostly in the US organizations like Alcor and the Cryonics Institute lead the field. Notable figures like Ted Williams and Hal Finney have chosen cryonics, lending credibility and sparking debate. Reasons vary, some want to see the future, others fear oblivion, and many simply calculate the odds. They know revival is unlikely, but prefer hope over certainty of death. Cryonics is a personal leap of faith, uniting people from all walks of life. It's a community built on the belief that the future may hold a second chance. Cryonics raises tough ethical questions starting with cost and fairness. Preservation is expensive, making it accessible mostly to the wealthy or well-prepared. If revival becomes possible, who decides who returns? Wealth, status, or perceived value? There's a risk of new inequalities and social hierarchies. What would indefinite life mean for society? Overpopulation, stagnation, or disruption of the natural cycle? Consent and identity are also issues. The revived may face a world with different values, utterly dependent on future caretakers. The decision to be cryopreserved is an act of trust in an unknown future. Cryonics forces us to confront what we value most about life, death, and humanity. Cryonics exists in a legal gray area, governed by laws about death and human remains. Legally, cryopreserved people are dead. Organizations are treated like mortuaries, not medical facilities. This status is necessary. Preservation can't start until legal death, but it complicates rights and protections. Cryonics relies on contracts and wills to ensure wishes are followed, but families sometimes challenge these in court. There are no clear answers about the rights or assets of the cryopreserved. If revival happens, new legal questions arise: identity, citizenship, inheritance. Our legal system isn't built for people returning after centuries. Lawmakers are only beginning to consider the profound changes cryonics could bring. The future of cryonics depends on breakthroughs in nanotechnology and neuroscience. Nanobots could one day repair cells and restore organs, but this is still theoretical. Understanding how memory and identity are stored in the brain is crucial for true revival. Advances in connectomics, mapping brain connections, may one day allow restoration of the self. Cryopreservation methods are improving, with better cryoprotectants and safer cooling techniques. The process may soon minimize damage, increasing the odds of successful revival. Mainstream science remains skeptical, citing immense technical hurdles. Yet, history is full of once-impossible dreams made real. Cryonics is a bold gamble on the future of human knowledge and technology. Whether it succeeds or not, it challenges us to rethink life, death, and possibility. Cryonics offers a chance to pause death, hoping for a future reawakening. The science is complex, but the greatest hurdles, revival and reintegration, remain in the realm of hope. Choosing cryonics is a leap of faith, entrusting your future to generations unknown. It forces us to ask, is a slim chance at more life worth the uncertainty? Do we accept the beauty and finality of a single life or gamble on a second chance? There's no right answer, only what resonates with our deepest hopes and beliefs. Cryonics is a choice between embracing the present or reaching for a future frozen in time. The decision ultimately is yours. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and let us know your thoughts in the comments below.